That's what good quarterbacks do. But is it enough to get you toward actual Super Bowl contention? History has said no so far. If that changes, then the status of Kirk Cousins will change.
Kirk Cousins was absolutely dominant Monday night against a very tough 49ers defense, throwing for 378 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. He's now second in the league in passing yards, while leading the league in touchdown passes with a 3-4 record so far, but a seemingly easy schedule ahead of him. So the question is, what do the Vikings do with Kirk Cousins at the end of the season, now that it looks like a run is possible with the schedule ahead of them and conceivably taking themselves out of the race for one of those top quarterbacks in the upcoming draft?
I think that we're a very far way away from that being decided. I mean, there's a lot more games than to be played than have been played so far. I mean, we've still got more than half the season to go with Kirk Cousins and this team. And I think that if Kirk Cousins continues the trajectory that he has always had with this team, which is to put up really good numbers and to be a very good quarterback. They're putting top 10 chains on him, and I don't disagree. But top 10, having an expensive top 10 quarterback does not necessarily guarantee you Super Bowl contention. And that's what they're really aiming for here. What does often correlate is having the strongest rosters in the NFL. And, San Francisco, had they not lost the game, would have been a great example to point to, but they still are. San Francisco, Philadelphia, teams that have maximized having cheap quarterbacks and that have put so much work into their roster that they are very difficult to beat. Remember, San Francisco was without 2 all-pro players last night in that game that the Vikings were able to beat them, and they were still a really strong roster and played a very close game, separated by 1 drive at the end and an interception there. So there's a lot of examples around the league of teams who over a number of years build super strong rosters around quarterbacks that don't cost much. And there aren't as many examples, unless it's an Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay team from a few years ago, of teams, or Patrick Mahomes, for example, of teams who are able to build the roster and have the expensive quarterback. And this roster still has more holes, and that's why they're sub 500 than a team like Philadelphia, a team like San Francisco, who can go out and make additional acquisitions at the trade deadline and trades of AJ Brown, for example, to add to their roster when they're already good. You want to be that in that position. That doesn't mean Cousins has had a bad year. Absolutely not. He's been very, very good so far for the Vikings. But you have to ask yourself as you go to make this decision, will you be able to compete for the Super Bowl, or would you just be doing it to compete, sort of, which is where they are right now and where they've been for a long time. Great game by Kirk Cousins, one of the best he's played. Terrific performance all around by Addison, by the offensive line, by Kevin O'Connell, who's dialing it up. At the same time, that's just one game, like what we saw in Buffalo last year, or what we've seen over the years many times from him. That's what good quarterbacks do. But is it enough to get you toward actual Super Bowl contention? History has said no so far. If that changes, then the status of Kirk Cousins will change. But there's a reason they didn't give him the long-term extension, because they're going to have to see more over this entire season. But it was a heck of a game, and people should be happy about that victory.
That's been another Purple Insider Extra for Bring Me the Sports. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Purple Insider Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Talk to you next time.